Okay, so I just finished up my ride. I was about to load up my bike. I figured I could probably make a little loading tutorial while I'm here. I'm in a pretty ideal spot out here by myself, and I've gotten pretty used to doing this. I've been riding for 7 or 8 years now, always loading it in the back of a truck. So my setup is pretty good. I actually picked the F250 because it was tailored so well to what I am constantly doing, loading a bike back here. Because pretty much once I saw this, I can't even remember what it's called now, but the ramp system that you can get that interlocks into the tailgate right here, and then the ramp storage in the back of the truck, I was pretty much settled on wanting this truck. So I've got the plate that I replaced. This is an aluminum plate. I actually ordered one for an F-150 because that's all that they had in stock at the time. It was, COVID stuff, shortage of everything. And the guy told me it would work, and obviously it does, but the holes didn't line up, so I just had to drill, like these are supposed to be in these holes, but I had to drill these, and it doesn't matter. But it's got the knuckle and the ramp that slides onto it. Only annoying part is I can't use this ramp on any other truck because it can't really just sit on a tailgate. But this is my setup for taller trucks. It's nice to have a step. So my truck, I actually use 2. So I step on that toolbox, then I step on that step, and then I go in. And this actually works good enough. I don't even need to turn the bike on. But a lot of the time, I still do, just to make it easier. Another thing that can help is if you can park your truck on a little bit of a slope to get your tailgate closer to the ground. That can help a ton. If you can, it actually looks like if I had backed up a little bit more, put my back wheel in that hole, and then have my front wheels up, that would help, but it's still not too steep like this. But anything you can do, if you can just pull your front wheels up onto something. What helps a lot is if you can back up to a curb. That way your ramp is up on a curb. It levels it out a lot better. Just for learning, getting it figured out. Like, it would probably be pretty good if I dropped my back wheels in this hole and then loaded like that. That would lower my tailgate a lot. But it's pretty much all about clutch control and keeping your balance. If you're gonna start it, to push it in there. Most dirt bikes, like, you get a good enough run up like this, you can just muscle them in. But if you don't feel like you can, I used to not be able to for a long time, but you can, it's fine to start them and just put it in first gear and focus on just maintaining a constant RPM and holding the clutch in and just slowly letting the clutch out and maintaining that up the ramp and into the bed of the truck, instead of trying to change your power through how much throttle you're giving it, if that's making sense. The way I always do it is I just rev it up to an RPM that I know has enough power to get it up while the clutch is pulled all the way in, and then I walk up and I just release the clutch and use the clutch to get it up in there instead of trying to throttle. Because that's how the guys that they get halfway up the ramp and then they realize they're not giving it enough throttle, and then they give it way more throttle. The guys you end up seeing, launch it over their cab or whiskey throttling over the side. But I'll just show it. This is the way that I always do it. And then I'll also show how I tie it down. All right, I don't have a tripod or anything, so I just put my phone on the ground, laying it up next to a water bottle. Okay, yeah, see, you notice how I wasn't like revving it up and down as I went up. I maintained a pretty steady just RPM, and I just used only the clutch to push itself up in there. I wasn't having to push on it super hard, and I wasn't having to worry about, you know, losing it. I just maintain that RPM. I focus on keeping my balance, just step right up and roll it in. It's really a lot easier than you think. You can overthink it and freak yourself out, and if you're not comfortable doing it, you know, no need to try it. But my recommendation is find a spot where you can back up to a curb or something and set your ramp on it. That way it's more level. Most people probably don't have trucks this tall, but not like this truck is extraordinarily tall. But it's, you know, high up enough that you can lose your balance going up the ramp. But that's the easiest way I've found to do it, and the safest. I haven't had a single incident doing that. I've probably done it 700 times. I don't know, I ride a lot. But the way that I tie it down, or the best way I've figured out with a 6.5 foot bed, is to do front wheel straight into the corner, pick the back wheel up and bump it up as far forward as I can. That way it can't really roll forward and backwards. And then I go straight from the corner, straight to the peg, straight from the other corner, straight to the peg. And I've been using cam Velcro straps just because they're faster. You can use ratchet straps if you want. There's nothing wrong with that. It's what I used for a long time. But this is a super solid way to tie it down. That flex is my bed flexing. Like, that's not the bike moving. So, I mean, I've off-roaded like all day in Moab with my bike tied down like this. It doesn't move. So, for one bike, that's a very good way to tie down securely. You could jump the truck and roll it probably, and the bike wouldn't fall out of there like that. And it's super simple. You saw how fast I did it. So I figure that's probably just about it. I may do a more in-depth tie down tutorial later on, just to show other tie down methods and stuff, maybe for like trailer tie downs. But as far as just putting one bike in the bed of a truck, I don't think you can beat that. I don't think it gets much better than that method. Not in my experience anyway. You're not putting any pressure on your suspension. You don't have to worry about the bike rolling forward and backwards. You don't have to worry about the bike bouncing and coming unhooked. Another thing that I'll mention that I just thought about is get a strap that either has those spring-loaded closures, or put a carabiner on your strap on both ends. Because when the bike is compressing as you go over bumps, you can get slack in it and it can come unhooked on either end and then fall over. So always use, for transporting bikes, either have a strap that can hook back into a soft loop. You see that strap actually has a loop on the other end where you could loop it around into the loop, but I don't like to do that on the pegs because it'll stab through with those, the teeth on the pegs will stab through it and rip your strap. But it's just something to mention. Get a good quality strap that's strong and has some type of way of closing around the pegs in your tie down, because that's like the most common way I've had bikes fall over is when we were starting out, we were trying to just use regular hooks, and every time you go over a bump, one of the bikes will fall over because one of them will come unhooked somewhere. One more quick thing to add right at the end. I've heard from motorcycle mechanics to always transport your bike in neutral, so I always do. I know a lot of people tell you to do that. They're like, stick it in gear, that way it can't roll forward and backwards. But I know that that's unnecessary wear and tear on the drivetrain. So it's probably not much, but there's no point. If you can scotch it like this where it can't roll forward and backwards, you don't need to have it in gear. And you also don't need to have one of those little brake depressors, you know, putting pressure on your line. It can't move. You got it scotched. So that's just my 2 cents, my opinion and my knowledge from what I know is that there's no need to do that. You can tie it down in a different way. If you have nothing to bump it up against, you can get one of those little motorcycle wheel chocks to set it in and pull it forward into it. Like I said, I may do a more in-depth video on that in the future, but I'm just putting that out there. I recommend always transporting your bike in neutral. But anyway, tried to just make a quick video showing that. Thanks for watching. Let me know if it was helpful to you at all.